Yo. Today we got why is Gen Z so poor? Like, comment, subscribe. We're on a grind to 100K. Grind never stops. Thank you guys for your recent support. Thank you guys for all the subs. Let's go ahead and keep it going. Grind never stops. Whoop.
I have a business marketing degree, but ended up with 2 retail jobs. One that pays $10 an hour.
That's what I don't get. Like, how do I say it? Even though we go to college, that doesn't mean we're gonna get a good paying job. Like, I hate that. But back then, even if you went to college for a year and you got like an associate's degree, you for sure got a good paying job. That's what I don't like about our generation. That our generation is so like education based, that so many people have a high education that it kind of makes the competition a little bit more higher. So in the sense that you kind of have to go to school a little bit more to even have a chance for that job that you actually want. It's just crazy.
And the other with fewer shifts at $25 an hour. I'm not making enough to get by.
And then you're debt with school. Then you end up with debt in school.
Not going to have experiences that most young adults do or did in the past, because everything is just too expensive.
And that's true. It's like, even housing's so expensive. Back then, housing was like $80,000 for a house. Now it's over $300,000 for a house. Come on.
Much unknown.
I sometimes struggle to afford food, despite working full-time and living with a roommate. Making ends meet means pulling money from savings, skipping a meal, or drinking water.
Not even skipping a meal, just eating raw soups. 89-cent soups.
So that I can try and stay full.
These individuals are from Generation Z, a generation who are coming of...
And I feel that. I honestly feel that. I remember, well, not right now, because honestly we're kind of blessed in a sense, but back then, we couldn't even afford a meal. Like, we would literally eat the same meal every single day. Like, every day. It would always be, quesadillas, like just straight freaking tortas and cheese. That's all we would eat every day. I'm not saying like I'm complaining, because that's a food on our plate, but like every day. Imagine eating that every day for lunch, breakfast, and dinner. Like, come on, you're obviously gonna get sick of that. But yeah, I remember those struggle days. Fucking sucks.
Age right now. A common reaction to the previous statements are as follows. Every generation has their own issues to deal with during their time, and this new generation just simply needs to work harder. While some...
That's what I don't get. We have to work harder, but back then they didn't have to work harder. They had to work less. That's just ridiculous.
Say that that's partially true. It's clear that the numbers are not in favor of Gen Z.
Nope.
When I first started living on my own, I was paying $280 a week in rent. My landlord wanted to increase my rent now to $450.
Damn, almost double. That's double.
A week.
I make over 3 times the federal minimum wage, and I cannot afford to
And that's what I find ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
live.
Where does this go in 5 years when 100 million Americans cannot buy a home and get a fixed rate, and their rent
you see?
raised 200 every year?
6 in 10 Gen Zers feel unable to save for the future. Only 15% of Gen Z expect to be able to afford a home in the next 5 years.
15%. Wow.
And 80% of those who rent worry that rental costs will keep rising beyond their capacity to afford them. 47% of Gen Z report that they or a household member lost a job or took a pay cut due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And this makes them the most affected generation. Around 40% of Gen Z are struggling with mental health, with financial stress being a major factor. So how did a generation that was poised for success end up in such financial distress? Are Gen Z really as lazy as many people claim? Or can we...
I hate that too. That they label Gen Z as lazy. We're not lazy. We just work smarter, not harder. That's all it is. Like, in my personal opinion, we're not fucking stupid. Like, we're not gonna be sitting there at a retail job for fucking 8 hours for freaking $15 a pay. We're not stupid anymore. We're not dumb. We know that that's not gonna help us. We know that in this economy, $15 an hour or $16 an hour ain't gonna do shit. Fucking gas is almost $10 a fucking gallon. You got me fucked up. You think fucking $15 minimum wage is gonna do anything? $17 minimum wage is gonna fucking do anything? Stupid motherfucker. Like, we're not stupid. We're not, like, I hate how they label Gen Z as lazy. We're not lazy. We're just not stupid to corporations fucking downgrading us for the pay that they think we are deserving of. We're not stupid. We're not. We're not gonna fucking accept $17 an hour when we know we should be getting $30, $50, $60 an hour when fucking gas is $10 a fucking gallon. Rent's probably like almost $1,000 per fucking month. Come on. Be real with your guys' selves. We're not lazy. We're just not stupid. We're not stupid like millennials or whatever. Our economy in the Gen Z is not as great as it was back then. The economy that they had back then was much more broke and much more like the inflation wasn't as high. Like, bro, that shit is ridiculous.
Really blame this generation. Just think about it. They had to live through multiple economic crises.
Exactly. We had to live through multiple economic crises. Exactly.
Geopolitical tensions.
Exactly. Wars. We had to go through wars.
And a new
the pandemic.
Constant fear of AI.
And now AI, yup.
To replace them. And how do millennials and boomers play a part
You see millennials and boomers, like, I'm not trying to be rude, but like, if you're a millennial and you don't have a good job, it's because you're lazy. And if you're a boomer and you didn't have a great life, it's because you didn't want that life. Bro, you literally could have got out of high school and go to the police department right out of high school. And that's a great paying, not the best paying job, but at that time, that's a job that'll sustain you and sustain you and sustain you for like a lifetime. Not like you won't have the best life, but you'll have a life that you're comfortable. You know, you can actually go out and buy things. Like now, if you even have a police job, that's not even minimum of buying things. So you can't even buy shit with the police job. Not even a teacher job. That shit's ridiculous.
In this special episode, we go through a journey of generations, and we look at the real reasons why Gen Z is facing the brunt of it all.
Main reason I feel like is because politics and like the Reaganomic rules. There's like a lot of things that play into this. In my personal opinion, it's not just one thing. It has to do with Reaganomics for sure. That's step one where it starts at, because Ronald Reagan, if you guys don't know, look it up. It's called Reaganomics. Basically, at the time, taxes were I believe 25% for the rich, and I think it was like 10% for the poor. Now it's the opposite. Now it's 25% for the poor and 10% or 5% for the rich, which is, I think, is stupid, but it's to help corporations make more jobs for people, and also to keep the product more flowing. I don't know how that works. In my opinion, you guys can let me know, but I just know that that's where it started, in my opinion. That's exactly the point where it began, and after that, you know.
This topic in three broad categories: housing, the economy, and education.
This right here is a big one. For everyone.
A quick note,
not just me.
Although this episode is focused on Gen Z, a lot of this applies to younger millennials too.
And you guys need to pay attention to this, because a lot of you guys, I'm not trying to be rude. But I was in the same place, but we don't think about housing. We don't think about our economy. We don't think about politics. We don't think about gas. We don't think about pricing. We don't think about nothing like that. And I'm not trying to say like because we're stupid, but because none of you guys that watch other people, or you guys watch, like, they don't push that on you guys. They just show you guys good. They don't show you guys like what it takes to get there, or what's behind all this. And that's what I kind of don't like about some certain people, like streamers. They don't show you guys like the real life world. They just show you the fake world. They don't show you real life, the real world. They just show you a fake facade. Like, this all fake. You guys don't understand. That's why I'm kind of like surprised that you guys are so like entertained by streamers that are so fake in their personality and so fake in their fucking facade. Like, it's crazy. You guys are crazy. Only social media. Only social media. You guys like the fakest people. And that shows. Kaisenet, IShowSpeed, who else? Aiden Ross. They're all fake. If you were to meet them in real life, they will not shake your hand. they'll take a picture. Don't get me wrong. They don't want to lose your freaking fan. They don't want to lose a fan, or they don't want to look bad. But trust me, they do not give a fuck about you. They do not care about you. Like, they're like, on my honest opinion, they will not sit down with you and have a real conversation with you about real world things. They'll just talk about you about, hey, what you like about stream? Hey, chat. Hey, chat. How y'all doing, chat? Hey, chat. Hey, chat. Is anybody there? Chat. Hey, chat. Like, come on, bro. I don't know. You guys like the wrong people. You guys be making the wrong people famous.
And a lot of these numbers
These people would just be killing your brain cells. Like, they just kill your brain. It's just ridiculous. The only streamer that I think I kind of have respect for is Penguin, because he doesn't kill your brain. He actually fills you in on real world things, real world news. So that's what I kind of like about him. But like, even like him, he's kind of like not fake, but just more so on the real content side of it. I don't know, explain that.
are focused, but we'll definitely be including other countries around the world too. So join us as we try to answer perhaps the most important question facing this generation. Is Gen Z truly the poorest generation in
We are the poorest, but we're also not the smartest.
modern times?
We're the poorest and they're not the smartest. I'm gonna be honest. But the only thing I do like about this is that we won't accept, like, how to say it, more than what we deserve. Like, I don't
Before we dive in, let's paint a vivid
We know
picture
our
of who we're
worth,
talking about
so
when we
yeah,
say Gen Z.
on this.
At the time of writing, the oldest of them would be around 27 years of age.
Right now, I am, the oldest is 27, I am 23, so I am almost there.
In America and Britain, this group is 1/5 of the population, a similar proportion to current baby boomers. The developing world has more of them. In Nigeria, Gen Z makes up 32% of the population.
Yeah, I'm Gen Z, man.
27%
Shout
for
out
India.
to Gen Z.
In the West, compared to millennials, Gen Z are more environmental.
And shout out to all my India subscribers. There's a lot of India subscribers on my channel. Shout out to y'all. I appreciate y'all and I love y'all.
Conscious, drink and smoke less, and are in less relationships. They care more about social issues.
I heard about that our generation drinks less and smokes less. Not to be rude, I personally don't. Don't put me on that statistic. But I don't drink like crazy like a lot of my millennials and boomers do. Those motherfuckers drink crazy. I don't drink like that. I just drink, here and there. The only reason I'm drinking right now is because it's my birthday. Shout out me. November 12th is my birthday. Happy birthday to myself.
Although they socialize less, 38 minutes per day versus an
See, like, I don't... Yeah, me too. Like, I don't socialize at all. Like, at all.
hour for the youth of the year. Although they socialize less, 38 minutes per day versus
38 minutes per day.
an hour for the youth of the year 2000.
Yeah, you see, like, I was born in 2001, so I don't really social, and I don't honestly really socialize.
You can watch my loneliness epidemic video for more on that side of things.
I'm gonna watch that.
Celebrities in this generation include the likes of Billie Eilish, Zendaya, Greta Thunberg,
Zendaya, shout out Zendaya, shout out Billie Eilish. Y'all were a big, not part of my life because I didn't watch you guys, but just like how like you guys grew with me and I grew with y'all, and like I seen you guys mature the same way. Like I saw myself mature and you guys grew with me. Like, cause I used to watch Shake It Up. I'm pretty sure you guys used to watch Shake It Up, and I used to know about Billie Eilish because of X. X used to like do some things with her before even Billie Eilish was like Billie Eilish. She was just Billie. I think she was just Eilish at the time. I don't even think she was Billie. She was Eilish. I don't think X called her Billie Eilish. I think she just called her Eilish. And at the time, she wasn't even famous like that. She was just like known. She was just, you knew her because X knew her type of deal. And now she's one of the biggest global stars in the world. Shout out to X. Shout out to God. Shout out to the industry. I mean, I heard bad stories about the industry, but shout out to making her famous. That's crazy.
Mbappe, Mr. Beast, and
Mr. Beast, there you go.
Naomi Osaka.
What year was Mr. Beast born? $1998. Season there. 1996. What is Gen Z? Let's see, Gen Z. Oh yeah, 1997 to 2012. Millennials. Gen X. The boomers are fucking crazy. Boomers, the baby boom, it's silent. Baby boom, Gen X, millennials, and Gen Z. We're Gen Z, y'all.
While
We're
these
part of
Gen
the Gen Z.
celebrities are obviously doing fine, everyday people in their cohort are coming of age into tough times.
What is really screwed up is the world is massively in debt. The workforce is shrinking. Population growth is slowing down. It's
I
slowing
don't know if you're part of the Gen Z.
down GDP growth. So there's not enough
There's a lot of us that are part of the Gen Z.
GDP growth to pay or service the amount of debts out there. And what we found since 2008, that the answer to this debt issue has been printing of more money, debasement of currency.
That's what I don't like too. That the federal government, I don't know if you're familiar, but a lot of the federal government, when we're like down on money, they'll just print the fucking money. They'll just print and print and print. And when you do that, that makes inflation go up way higher. So anything that you buy just costs way more because they're just printing money, printing money, printing money, printing money. And the way they make that money valuable is if they make things go up. So that's why it's crazy to me.
People think of it in terms of, at first they think it's going to be inflation,
Yeah, well, it is.
as in the price of CPI goes up, but it's actually not. It's actually something much worse, is wages don't rise, but assets go up. Because
You see what I'm saying? Like things that you are like trying to afford, they all go up. Like cars, house, fucking products.
optically you're
Food.
debasing the currency. But what's happening is you can't afford as much of that now.
See what I'm saying?
And so your future self is in fact poorer. So
You see what I'm saying? The person, not you, but the person in 2 years, 3 years is poorer than you were right now, which is ridiculous. Like think about it. Like back then, groceries were like what, $100? You get like 20 items, 30 items. Groceries now, $300, 10 items, 2 items, 4 items, like at max. That's just crazy.
classic example is a 30
And nobody's telling you this. You guys don't find out none of this. That's okay. And it's crazy to me that you guys don't like the truth. You guys want to hear facade, like all facade, like all, bro, I can go buy this $100,000 freaking cake easy. You guys don't like to hear the actual truth behind the story. Like that's just ridiculous to me. You guys rather hear a facade.
5-year-old.
Like I'm 1,001% sure that almost half of us can afford the shit that Kai Cenat, Aiden Ross, ISO Speed have. I put that shit down on my mama that half of you guys cannot afford that. And then you guys watch them and think like that's gonna be you one day. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Now in the United States,
They don't
Getting
show
back-
you guys this like whole real life.
married, having kids, a house is very expensive.
They don't show you guys taxes. They don't even go show you guys fucking economics, fucking politics. They don't show you none of that.
Compared to when Peter and I were
They
young,
just show you about. That's just crazy.
it was
Whatever.
relatively cheap, 3 times incomes. Now it's like 10 times incomes.
See what I'm
So there's
saying?
no real way of getting up the ladder. So
There isn't.
the advantages that your parents had are not available to you.
Exactly. There's not exactly. Like the biggest advantage that we had back then was that you spoke English in an economy where a lot of people were immigrants and a lot of people were transgression over here because of their parents and were trying to have their kids live a better life. That's what and now we don't have that. Now people just automatically speak English and people
Gen Z.
automatically speak our language and people automatically just learn because there's TikToks, because there's social media, because there's so much things that play into a factor. So just you knowing English doesn't mean anything. You gotta go out and get experience. And without experience, you gotta get an education. Not an education, you gotta get a higher education. Not a higher education, you gotta have some sort of knowledge within that job.
Above all, there's probably one thing that feels more out of reach than anything else.
A house.
Housing.
Exactly, a fucking house. This guy is going in. Yeah, he has a good video. This is a good video.
If you've scrolled through any social media feed, you've likely come across
Leo's finally buying a house. It's a fucking box.
memes like these. This humor
Millennials
hit
waiting for the housing market to crash so they can buy their first.
close to home for 30.
Thankfully, my mom, she's a millennial, she bought a house. So she waited for the house market to crash, and once that house market crashed, she stroked like a fucking tiger. I think we bought this house like I want to say 2013, somewhere around there, when the house market crashed and the house market was still down. So this house originally where I'm living at cost $80,000, which is a deal at the time. And we fixed this up house. It was like pretty beat up at the time when we bought it, and we fixed it up. And now this house is worth over $200K.
4% of Gen Zers who see home ownership as an impossible feat in their lifetime, not in the next 10 to 20 years.
And the way I know that the house is worth over 200K is because, you know how you guys get offered, I don't know if you guys do, but we get offers from people trying to buy houses, and the highest offer we've ever gotten for this house was $330,000. So that shows. And my mom almost said that this house is worth way more because just, you know,
but an entire
we got things that in this house that are worth way more. Like, you know, I don't know if you guys know, but you guys can make so your houses into studios and have people rent out of the houses, so you're not only making money living here. I mean, you're making money just living here.
a lifetime.
Smart.
Think about that for a second.
Yeah, think about that.
In 2022, the typical age for a first home buyer hit a record high, 36.
See, 36. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. That's not fair.
Gen Zers are staying at home longer to save on
hopefully, if this YouTube works out, I'm trying to buy my house by at least 27. At least 27, 28, somewhere around there, man. I need me a house. I don't want.
For example, in the US,
that's why I'm working so hard at this.
Adults living at home have increased 87% over the last 2 decades. And in Australia, it's risen 17% just since 2016.
I'm working hard for everyone, like, you know, not just for me, for y'all. I want you guys to
only 0.1% of the properties there are affordable for the average household. For one student in Canada, he found it cheaper to just fly to his
class. Well, exactly. Drive to Vancouver
to avoid higher rent.
I need to pay like $2,500.
You see what I'm saying?
For the rent, I don't feel that it's like
it's affordable.
No, viable.
Exactly.
The problem really becomes clear when you see the
everybody wants to live in the United States. That's what the thing is.
Disparity visually.
Look at that household income. This rent price just fucking skyrockets because everybody just wants to live in the United States, but your price of how much you make doesn't fucking increase like that.
In the US, home prices are now rising twice as fast as income.
Yeah, because everybody wants to live here. It's because of the rights
6 years income to buy the average house. For boomers, this was 2 to 3 years. Generation X, 3 to 4 years. Millennials, 4 to 5 years. And, as just shown, Gen Z, 6 to 7 years.
Oh my God, Gen Z. Oh my God. Pray for me, y'all. Pray for me.
But Australia,
I'm gonna do it one day. I'm gonna buy me a house one day. Y'all gonna see it one day.
Is on another level. The average house price in Sydney, 1.6 million.
Oh my God, where? Let me know not to go there.
But Australia is on another level. The
Australia
average house price in Sydney, 1.
Oh, Australia, y'all tripping, bro. What do you guys got over there? That your house is worth 1.6 million. What do you guys got over there? Cause I ain't never said, hey, let's go to Australia.
6 million.
What do you guys? All I heard of y'all ever. What? The only thing I ever heard you guys got is kangaroos.
If you're on a single wage, it takes
that's crazy.
14 years of income.
14 years of income if you're on a single wage.
On average to buy a house. Remember, that's 14 years of work if you save 100% of everything you earn. In other words,
oh my God, 100% of everything you earn.
You'd have to be
No, that's impossible.
homeless and eating out of garbage bins to do that.
Exactly.
Just as
You will literally have to eat off, like you wouldn't even be able to buy food. You would have to live off like just people buying you shit.
And then there's stories like this.
This 3-bedroom Paddington home in need of renovation selling
3 bedrooms, 9 million. Come on, that's ridiculous.
auction for an eye-watering $9 million. That's a whole $1.5 million above the reserve, boasting off-street parking and a converted stable. The terrace last sold in 1981.
1981 for 300K. Now it's selling for 9 mil.
$300,000.
That's ridiculous.
The new buyers are planning to spend
Just because of the location and how it looked. Come on, that's crazy.
from $1 million to $5 million to bring it up to scratch.
Wow.
And this.
This split-level one-bedroom apartment in Bondi Junction, which is listed for $900. To say I was underwhelmed is an understatement. Among the applicants,
$900 per week. It's not that bad. One bedroom? Oh, nah, that's crazy. One bedroom is crazy.
Male and wish to stay anonymous. They were prepared to co-live in this one better. These are the kind of sacrifices people are having to make.
There's a myriad of
That's crazy.
reasons
I don't know where I would put my computer and all that shit.
of why
I got so much shit.
this is happening in Australia, and I'm going to do an entirely separate video on this topic alone. But the bottom line is prices have surged more than 22% in just 1 year. In the UK, things are bad too. The average house costs 9 times as much as average earnings.
For the UK.
In the UK, the last time house prices were
Go to Florida. I heard Florida is like, they're selling their houses like this because of all the hurricanes.
this high compared to earnings was almost 150 years ago, back in 1876.
1876?
But this is where things get a little more complicated. There's actually a twist here with Generation Z.
I think the main reason is because we're not building as many houses. That's my main deal with this, is because housing market is so high, is because the Gen Z people aren't building as much houses as they were back then. And the reason is because the material for the houses probably cost 10 times more than the fucking house itself. So building this house alone probably costs way more than the fucking house that they're gonna buy it for itself. And probably the people that are getting paid to build this house, like these people right here, they know that this house is probably gonna sell for at least probably like almost $250,000 because it's 2-story. Like you see the house, it's probably gonna sell at least my humble opinion, $500K, and they're probably getting paid not even half that. They're probably getting paid like $5,000 for a fucking 500K house worth, and they gotta buy the materials, they gotta build it, they gotta put the labor work. So in my humble opinion, they know that it's not worth it, so they're probably asking for more money to build the house, and they are not giving the money to them to build the house. So that's why houses aren't getting built as much as back then. That's why you see these lots are all empty. They're barely building these houses because maybe they just somehow magically got money. But my humble opinion is because we're not there. The people in the government aren't giving them the money to build these houses.
Despite a global shortage in affordable housing and rising property prices, Gen Z seems to be navigating the housing market adequately.
Oh, for sure.
Data from
stupid.
Redfin over in the US shows that 30% of 25-year-olds owned homes in 2022.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
3% more than their Gen X counterparts at the same age. Well, how is this? Here's what different experts say. Those in Gen Z took advantage of record low mortgage rates in 2020 and 2021.
Smart.
This made servicing a mortgage less of a burden. Gen Z
because
has
the
more
mortgage
remote
is so high.
work opportunities, so they're able to live somewhere remote and more affordable. And lastly, this cohort has more access to technology, information, and platforms,
Exactly.
which all help in their home purchases. According to Ben Miller, the CEO of Fundrise, quote, "Every generation is getting more economically screwed in some way.
Oh, for sure.
But they, Gen Z, have way more knowledge and information than..."
It's because we're like kind of right smack in the middle of the old generation and the new generation is ahead of us, so we kind of like are somewhat in between
previous generations. Way more. That's got to count for something, end quote. Interestingly, in comparison, millennials aren't doing so great with housing. It seems like the 08 crisis hit that cohort hard. When it
my opinion is because they're getting much older, so honestly, I feel like millennials don't really even care about owning a house anymore. I think more to them it's about living.
to buying a house. On a societal level, the problem of home ownership is making it harder for both younger millennials and Gen Z to think about marriage and having kids.
Yeah, that's why I don't want to have kids either, or have a marriage, because I know for sure having a marriage and having kids is like unaffordable.
That's equally as sad as it is dystopian is the tiny home trend.
Gen Zers and millennials are buying prefabricated tiny homes on Amazon.
That's actually kind of smart. Tiny homes, like living in a tiny home is probably the smartest thing you could probably do for like tiny.
For under $40,000, as the median price of American homes tops $400,000. Here in California, the median house is over $770,000.
A silver lining here is that reports suggest that the job market is booming. Or is it? If you're 15 to 24 years old, in some places you'd be lucky to have a job. In Spain, the unemployment rate of this age bracket is 28%.
I would probably live in a tiny home. A tiny home doesn't sound even bad. Look at, they're pretty big. For just, imagine just two people.
$170,000.
A silver lining.
As the median price.
That's a good size for two people. That's a lot. That's a good amount of size.
Fabricated tiny.
That's a great size for two people. Just me and my girlfriend, because that's all I'm gonna really ever need. Honestly, that's a great size. That's a great size.
Homes on Amazon for under $40,000, as the median price of American homes tops $400,000. Here in California, the median house is over $770,000.
That's ridiculous.
A silver lining here is that reports suggest that the job market is booming. Or is it?
It's not. The what's it called? The ones that take advantage of you are booming.
If you're 15 to 24 years old, in some places you'd be lucky to have a job. In Spain, the unemployment rate of this age bracket is 28%. Sri Lanka, 27%. Greece, 25%. Italy and Sweden, 23%. In China, things also aren't going great for the young. Thanks to economic uncertainty and a large population in higher education, over 1/3 of degree holders there may be unemployed. Let's go back to other parts of the world in
the China, man.
West. The picture
I'm unemployed too.
A lot better. But as you'll soon see, not all is as it seems. Youth unemployment across the richer countries of the world, on average, is around 13%. It hasn't been this low since 1991. But you might be thinking, something doesn't feel right about this rosy picture. It's not like you hear Gen Z and millennials rejoice.
Yeah, honestly, the main reason is the politics, and the main reason is the presidents that we have in the government.
About how good the job market is. So what is going on? Why don't the figures
I'll let you guys know right now
line up with what everyone's feeling? Well, the fact is, the figures we often hear aren't telling us the full story. For example, in 1994 in the US, the government changed the way they count unemployment. They stopped counting all of those who stopped looking for work or only have part-time employment. A lot of other countries have done this too, and when you factor that in, everything starts to make sense. Peter Schiff explains further.
So if you really want to put today's unemployment in context, what you have to compare is the current U6 number to the U3 number that existed prior to 1994. And I happened to do that. And what I found, if you look at the 1950s and 1960s, there wasn't a single year during those 2 decades where unemployment was as high as it is right now. You got to go.
I feel like the main reason unemployment is so high is because the Gen Zs know that the minimum wage is very low, and that we know that unemployment, like not unemployment, but the minimum wage is too low. That should be risen to like at least 25 in my opinion. And I feel like that's why a lot of jobs are getting taken over by AI robots. There's a lot of more robots in jobs now because a lot of Gen Zs are not going to stand there and do that job.
The 1970s, that was 1975, oh, in 1976, so only 2 years. And that's supposed to be a horrible decade, stagflation, Jimmy Carter, all the bad stuff that happened.
And honestly, back then, in the boomer and the millennial age, you could literally have like a job, like a retail job, and you'll be fine. Like you would honestly live comfortably.
There were only 3 years during the 1980s when unemployment was higher than it is right now. We were in the worst recession since the Great Depression. The Fed had
because of the stock market. The stock market crashed in 2008. There's a lot of things that happened. The stock market crashed. Not even the stock market. The housing market also collapsed. So made the dollar go up and inflation go up. Taxes go up to make up for all that money that was lost during that depression.
20%, right? We were really trying to fight inflation. So only during the latter 1970s.
I think inflation's up by like 25%, almost 30%.
And early,
which is ridiculous.
1980s, did you have unemployment higher than it is right now?
Yeah, exactly.
So, how is
unemployment is the highest it's ever been right now.
Gen Z doing today overall? Opinions are divided. On the one hand, Lawrence Kotlikov, an economics professor at Boston University, agrees that, quote, this is a tougher climate for sure. Parents need to
way more like this climate. I'm not saying that, like, how do I say it? They had a bad climate too, but we have a worse climate just because of like everything that's happening right now. Technology is advancing so much and so fastly that jobs are getting pushed away from people like this. And then not even that minimum wage is going up every single year. Back then it would go up almost 2 times a year, 3 times a year. But minimum wage is going up next year, then the next year, then the next year, then the next year, then the next year. So when minimum wage goes up, inflation has to go up. And when inflation has to go up, taxes go up. And when taxes go up, everything that you buy goes up. And which is ridiculous to me. That I don't like. Housing goes up, cars that you buy go up, fucking insurance goes up. You guys don't even notice it. Insurance probably they'll tell you, oh, your insurance this year is probably gonna be $20 a month. That $20 higher than it was last year. And you get okay, that's fine. Oh, then they'll tell you the next year, oh, your insurance is gonna go up $20 on top of the $20 that it went up the last year. Well, that's $40, and you guys don't even notice that, but it all adds up. That's what I'm saying. Like, Gen Z, I feel like we have it the worst just because in money in our time right now is being produced so fastly. Like, there's so many billionaires. Like, there's so many new billionaires that are coming up to the world that there weren't back then, which is making for money to be more valuable. In my opinion, like there's so many more millionaires, there's so many more billionaires that's making the money more harder to be valuable. Even though the money is still probably, most of the money is still shared by like 3% of the world, but there's still many more rich people that are coming out. In my opinion, in our generation, that's why it's making the money a lot more valuable.
Kids are in trouble. End quote. Others, like personal finance expert Ken Coleman, believe that Gen Z has an advantage due to technology, which levels the playing field.
That we do. I will say that. Gen Z does have an advantage due to technology, so I will say that we do have a play on that we have a high advantage on technology because millennials and boomers, they're kind of like learn about technology, but we kind of grew in it in a sense, if that makes sense.
Quote, I think this next generation, this Gen Z generation, and the kids coming up behind them, I think we're going to see an entrepreneurial boom.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. We are.
Like we've never seen in history because of the playing field being leveled by technology, making it so much easier. End quote.
I feel that too.
While it's true that technology does indeed help even the playing field.
But in my opinion, if I'm going to be honest, I feel like there is way more entrepreneurs in the millennial age than there were in the Gen Z age.
Will it be enough?
From beyond.
And it could be a double-edged sword. For example, AI advancements, however hyped and overblown today, in some areas could provide a real challenge to working humans over the next decade.
We'll have to wait and see. Okay, so that was the job market. But once Gen Zers get a job,
how are they doing? Well, again, there's some interesting stuff going on. Z is a job.
I feel like the main thing is that they're doing fine, but a lot of Gen Zers feel like they know they can do better.
Gen Z have figured out something pretty smart, changing jobs more often.
See? The Bank of America Institute's report found that the average pay raise is exact on with job moves.
Allows them to earn more, almost 30% more according to Business Insider.
See what I'm saying? So,
according to The Economist, the wages for Gen Z are rising much faster than other age groups. In America, hourly pay rates for those 16 to 24 were 7% higher year on year compared with workers aged 25 to 54 at 13%.
It's because they make us work more. Not to be rude, but it's because we're younger, so they know that we can work more.
In Britain, the pay of those aged 18 to 21 rose 15% last year, and this is far greater than the other age groups. In New Zealand, the average hourly pay of those aged 20 to 24 increased by 10% compared to the average of 6%. In a few places, including Croatia and Slovenia, Gen Zers are already earning as much as the average worker.
That's dope.
Very interesting. The explanation for this could be simple. After the post-COVID inflation started exploding, a lot of people would ask for a raise, and they got it. But
they're not stupid.
The difference with Gen Z is this. They're the youngest cohort, so they had the lowest base wage. Because their wage was lower, companies could afford to pay them more, as it was still cheaper than retraining someone else, for example. So, when you look at the proportions, Gen Z seems to be doing better. But the truth is, even if their pay is increasing at a faster rate, it may still not be enough gross income to live comfortably. So the question must be asked, why is pursuing higher salaries not translating into financial security? One word: inflation.
That's what I've been saying.
While most of us have felt the pinch of everyday essentials, inflation lies at the heart of Gen Z's financial struggles. They're mostly just starting their careers and probably earning less overall. To enter the workforce during a period of rapid inflation, not seen since the 1970s, would be a real shock for any young adult. In 2022, inflation soared to the highest point in 40 years. During the pandemic, supply chain disruption meant that goods cost more. And to prevent the economy from stalling, governments printed excess amounts.
Bro, the federal government said, print that money, baby. Jerome Powell said, shh. I'm gonna put a picture right here with Jerome Powell said. He said, print that money. Print it.
Money to revitalize it. It sort of worked, but all of that extra money sloshing around in the economy later showed up as inflation. Suddenly, a trip to the local grocery store
cost you 3 times more than what it did before.
Was 8% more expensive.
Told you.
And this isn't
I said 3 times. It was 8 times more.
Fuel, airfares, rent, and transportation.
Told you.
And most critical of all, education. But we'll come back to that. Gen Z has never seen prices rise.
Those are about only sticker shocks in the grocery store by turning bulk purchasing. That's
rapidly in their lifetime, and they're going through a sense of sticker shock. Some reports even go as far as to say that Gen Z is, quote, psychologically scarred by the effects of inflation.
For sure, we're scarred.
Okay, so inflation is high, but what does that really mean? Well, I quickly need to show you some.
Literally everything was fucking high. It's ridiculous.
History, so we can understand.
I'm never ready to break. Everything is going to continue to be higher.
And the full effects. Barring World War II, in which.
Just because minimum wage is always going to be going higher, so if minimum wage always goes higher, inflation is bound to always follow it.
Life wasn't normal. The mid-70s till 1981 saw raging inflation, reaching a peak of 20%. With everything costing so much and wages being stagnant, most households decided that 2 people needed to work to keep the house afloat. There was no other choice. The natural result was that more women entered the workforce, a trend that remains till this day. But there's a tragic thing about inflation. Even as the inflation rate subsides,
I want the women to work, but if they don't work, honestly, 2 people wouldn't be able to sustain themselves unless they have a tiny home.
Prices usually stay elevated. For example, say the inflation figure drops from 8% to 3%. It doesn't mean that prices actually go down.
Nope.
just means that prices are rising at a slower rate.
Exactly.
In other words, they were rising at 8%, and now they're rising
at 3%. That means they're rising very slowly.
I say this just to highlight that inflation is nothing to play with. But the good news is that for now, inflation rates across the world have slowed. While that's
they've stayed pretty stagnant at the same price.
News, Gen Z would have to accept that higher prices are here to stay.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Wages do help, but the truth is, for a young person just starting out in their professional career, inflation makes things very hard.
How much did you pay for your first house?
That's great. Watch what he says.
$18,000.
What?
For 17 acres.
What year?
Wow.
1989.
1989.
When I was a kid, cars were thousands of dollars.
You see? Cars were like 2,000, 3,000. That's ridiculous.
A brand new car, like, I don't know, $5,000.
Wow. Now our whole brand new cars are at least $30,000.
I remember seeing ads. Houses.
Wow.
Were probably what, 10, 20,000.
Wow. Wow.
When I was a kid, $1 used to actually be worth something.
But there's another twist here. If you can believe it, inflation may be worse than what we're being told. There's a reason why
way worse
doesn't go as far.
You gotta think about it though. The US government is debt trillions of dollars. So you gotta think about that.
Anymore. According to economist John Williams, founder of Shadow Government Statistics, the US government may be fudging the inflation numbers. So
for sure.
Real inflation is worse than what's published.
Oh yeah, because we owe trillions of dollars.
Williams argues that the methods used to calculate the inflation have changed over time. This first occurred in the 1980s, and ever since,
it's to help the US economy make it look better than what it actually is. We're actually worse than what we are. It's just statistics don't show it. Because we don't want it to show it.
Inflation rates have been reported as lower than what.
Because if we were to show how bad we were, everything would be in a panic. Everything would be in a frenzy. Everybody would be like not spending as much, and everybody would be so scared.
They actually are. In blue, you'll find a more honest representation of inflation.
Exactly. This is the honest representation of where we're at. The red is us, and this is inflation. Inflation is just beating us by a fucking pulp. We were actually at somewhat back then, like somewhat like in there, but ever since 1988, it's just been stagnant. They've just been beating us by a pulp. Look at boom, boom, boom. Look at how we've just been dropping lower. Boom, boom, boom. They've just been going higher. Boom, boom. And they finally dropped in 2008 because of the stock market crash. But then after the stock market crash, boom, because everybody started buying houses, then boom, then boom, then boom. Yep, then we just keep going more.
Inflation. Whereas in red, these are the official statistics. The official statistics don't factor in house price growth directly, or they might substitute steak for more affordable meat when determining grocery expenses, and more tactics of that nature. Although, it's not just the US government that manipulates inflation numbers. It's a common tactic used by many governments around the world, mainly to get re-elected. So why say all of this? The bottom line is that living standards are being slashed by even more than we realize. It's getting harder for everyone, especially those who are just starting out in their professional career.
So no, that shit's crazy. That shit sucks.
Part you've all been waiting for. Are Gen Z lazy, entitled brats? Let's take a look. To set the stage, when it comes to attitudes among workers, employee confidence and morale is generally low across all generations, not just Gen Z. But that being said, out of all the age groups, Gen Z is the most disengaged at work.
Because we don't fucking give a fuck, bro. Everything's so fucking high. We can't afford shit. We're living paycheck to paycheck.
44% of Gen Zers report job satisfaction, and that's compared to 67% of older workers. Last year, Gen Zers boasted about quiet quitting. This is where they put in just enough.
Honestly, just wait so the 2025 report comes out. It's gonna be worse. The people that are unemployed is gonna be stupid fucking high.
Work to not get fired. Others talk about bare minimum Monday. This same type of behavior
Bare minimum Monday
occurring all across Asia. In China, they call it tang ping, or lying flat, and we've covered that on this channel before. A 2022 survey found that Americans aged between 15 and 24 spent 25% less time on, quote, working and work-related activities than those in 2007. This next statistic is very telling. The share of American 12th graders, aged 17 or 18, who see work as a central part of life has dropped sharply.
Jeez.
Why is this? Well, Gen Z wants a workplace that has mentorship, genuine connections, flexibility,
and more like you move up and within leadership,
and a work-life balance. For them, the world has changed, and the traditional office job with a commute just doesn't cut it anymore.
Nope.
The older generations look at Gen Z's attitude with scorn. To them,
they think we're ungrateful.
It appears like a pure lack of work ethic.
Told you.
In fact, 3 in 4 managers consider Gen Z the most difficult age group in the workplace.
So fucking stupid.
Are Gen Z workers lazy, or are they simply changing the work culture?
Lazy. A new survey has found 60% of US bosses have fired their Gen Z workers, complaining that the younger generation wanted to leave early.
She looks like she's part of the Gen Z. She looks younger than this guy. This guy's old.
Start late and expected to be paid a fortune. Well, now bosses in Australia have the same problem.
They're not bad, they're different. That's all. Like, they're growing
Told you.
in
We're grown up.
a world where they're probably not going to buy a house.
Told you.
Ever going to be able to afford it.
Exactly.
Gone through COVID, I think they've just got a bigger sense of YOLO than
a bigger sense of YOLO.
and
I like that. That's a good termination.
It's not a bad thing.
It's not.
It's different. So I think older bosses are like, no, I worked a horrible job.
I worked a horrible job for 25 years, so you should be grateful that you have this job and you're getting paid more than I was ever getting paid, even though inflation is about 20 times or 34 times than it was in my time, but you should be grateful.
My life, you should too, and the kids are saying,
exactly.
No.
No, boy.
I think the work.
I worked a horrible job.
Gen Z meets with their
all my life, you should too, and the kids are saying, no.
Gen Z, I worked till 30 a.m.
But I think
like an hour late, 2 hours late.
The work ethic comes back to finding a passion, and that's no different for any other Gen Z worker. And I think that's why, some of this trend may have happened. Maybe this work wasn't their passion and it's not something that they really wanted to do for the rest of their life. And I think that's where it comes back to. If someone finds a job they love, they'll put in their all. And if
for sure.
Something that they don't really love, I think my generation nowadays are just more inclined to be like, look, this isn't for me. I'm not.
Exactly. I'm not gonna waste my time and waste my years here. I'm not stupid anymore. I'm not like my parents. I'm not like my other grandparents. I'm not like the friends.
I'm gonna give my all and I'll find something else that is.
Exactly.
We have to take better care of young people's mental health, and also the
mental health is a big part too.
Older people in the workforce need to communicate maybe in newer ways and or teach younger people how to communicate in older ways.
Okay, but here.
Okay, that's a good one.
The truth of the whole thing. Most of these companies would lay you off in
a
heartbeat if
like
it affected
this.
their body.
Like this. And they'll go find somebody else.
Line. And Gen Z knows that. They might even be the first generation to enter the workforce knowing that. I'm not telling you to be lazy on someone else's dime, but a lot of these companies don't give a damn about you.
For sure, they don't give a fuck about you. If you were to die tomorrow, they will replace you within a heartbeat like that within the next 2 days. They're gonna start hiring interviews within that same day you fucking die. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't care about you. They don't care about your well-being. They don't care about your family. They don't care about you. You just care about making that corporation run. If you were to die right now working at that fucking job, all they're gonna say is, sorry, but he was a great worker. Anybody else want this job? Put that fucking job ad in the next 1 day. I promise you.
It's perfectly acceptable to not give a damn back.
So that's what I'm saying. We don't give a fuck. Fuck you. Why are we gonna give a fuck about you guys? You guys don't give a fuck if we were to die this same day. You just replace us within that same hour.
But who's actually right? Well, we have to
Gen Z.
Look at both sides of the argument first. According to surveys of managers and employers, Gen Z has a combination of perceived entitlement,
no, we don't.
attention spans, and a tendency to critique beliefs held by other generations.
No.
And this next one's going to be controversial, but there's a common trope that Gen Z is too soft.
Too soft?
According to CNBC,
now we're too soft, but we were just too lazy not that long ago.
Of Gen Z say that they need a therapist just to deal with
the stress of filing.
So who do you think is right? Who has the valid points?
I do attacked over here.
I think it's interesting to see how age plays a role in one's thinking.
Age?
But one thing is true. Gen Z actually works harder than most people think.
You see?
Almost 4 in 10 Gen Zers have a side hustle in addition to the regular.
You see? You see 45% of Gen Zs have a side hustle.
So it seems that Gen Z will do the work, but it's just on their own terms.
It's just on what we want to put the work in. Education isn't what it used to. Oh yeah, for sure.
Move on to education.
For sure.
Let's start with South Korea.
For sure.
The youth of South Korea are the most educated in the world.
Oh yeah, they're smart. They're really
Nearly 70% of those aged 25 to 34 have a tertiary degree.
Damn.
That's the highest among OECD countries. Just imagine the stress.
Shout out to them.
And fierce competition.
Shout out to you guys working hard.
Despite their educational prowess, over half of Seoul's youth face asset poverty. That means they lack enough liquid assets to cover their basic needs for 3 months. Moreover, in a country where working 18-hour days
18-hour days
isn't uncommon, skyrocketing house costs are pushing many South Korean
How much does it cost to live over there?
Gen Z into small apartments just 50 square feet.
What the fuck is that?
That's almost 1/10 of a standard studio apartment.
Nah, that's gotta be fake.
So the
no way that's real.
United States, of course, is an interesting case. Education there is extremely expensive. Tuition costs have risen faster than the cost of medical services, childcare, and housing.
There's no way that's how much it costs over there. There's no way. If that's what it is, that's ridiculous. You can only get 50 square feet. Yo. One hour.
No joke with these higher interest rates. It's so bad that 39% of recent graduates said that they would choose to spend a week in jail if that meant that they could erase their debt.
I would do that in a heartbeat, bruh. I would literally do that in a heartbeat. If I could literally erase my debt by spending a week in jail, I'm pretty sure if not me, but everybody would do that. Spend a week in jail and you erase all your debt.
So since about 2018...
Yo, what up? Missing your message, bro. What up? Yo. Let me type on the chat. You want to say, yo, what up? Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the stream, bro. Welcome to the stream. Go and sub up if you have already not subbed up. Sub up.
Some Gen Zers are simply turning their backs on traditional higher education paths and looking towards a career in trades. Community colleges are also...
That's what I've seen a lot too. My generation is more into trade jobs. I kind of feel bad for them. But I'm not saying like that's a bad thing. Because it's more of a for sure job. But it just kind of sucks to see that they're more into a trade job rather than like a different type of job like that.
Looked at more.
So it is so weird to me that everyone wants to go to a highly ranked college.
Easy. Usually
the professors there, their number one focus is not teaching. They're incredibly smart, but what they really care about is their own research. As you guys know, smarts does not equate to skill when it comes to teaching. It also does not necessarily translate to motivating young people. That's why the most impactful teachers are usually at community colleges.
Oh yeah, for sure. I feel like the most impactful teachers are at community colleges because they're way cheaper and they understand how it feels to be broke.
Way easier to get into. You can likely live at home if you go to community college. Overall, I think that's pretty much the move.
But in most Western countries, those who are going to university are being smarter about it. The economy isn't as secure as it once was, so there's been a drift to more easily employable degrees. Science, engineering, and medical degrees are rising, and the humanities are falling out of favor. And all of this isn't to mention Gen Z's debt levels. In the US, for example, with inflation and interest rates rising, Gen Z has the fastest rising debt levels of any generation. Between 2022 and 2023, so just in 1 year, Boomers' debt went down by 1.3%, Millennials up by 8%, and Gen Z up by 15.4%.
Damn.
In addition, Gen Z is also making $7,000 less than their same age group was a decade ago, adjusted for inflation. They really haven't got it easy. We can all agree on that. So in conclusion, I personally think that Gen Z is in a very interesting situation. There's multiple stories going on here. On the one hand, there's financial headwinds, inflation, and rising rents. But on the other hand, their wages are rising faster than any other age group, and home ownership rates are higher than millennials during the same age. But at the same time, when compared to Generation X and Boomers, they're still a lot poorer. And I haven't even touched on those from Gen Z, now living in war-torn countries that were peaceful 10 years ago. But in terms of work,
that's crazy.
Their attitudes towards work are changing. Perhaps in 10 years, instead of going to college, learning a trade will be close to the norm. Who knows? But all of that is the reason why this topic is so important. Gen Z are the near future. Historically, in times of economic downturns, the young become disenfranchised, and they vote against the leadership that put them in their current position. Governments and politicians have to pay attention to them, or they'll be out of a job in no time. Considering that Gen Z is the most politically active age group, the potential outcomes may carry even more weight. Given all we've looked at, Gen Z is treading water right now, but they definitely aren't swimming. But let's think outside the box a little bit here, and let's put this all into perspective. Over the past 100 odd years, which generation do you think had it the worst? Well, here's a clue. They're so old.
I feel like the baby boom. The baby boom era.
You probably haven't heard of them. They're called the Lost
Generation, really?
They were born between 1883 to 1900, 3 whole generations before the baby boomers. Many had to go to the First World War. Their soldiers came
that's crazy.
back traumatized. The world hadn't seen such violence before. They were left to wander the streets, no support, and lost through life. And this is where the generation got their name from, the Lost Generation. Not long after the scars of war, they would then lose all of their money in the Great Depression. But
that's crazy.
Life wasn't dealing with them yet. During the depths of poverty, they watched helplessly as they had to send their own kids off to the Second World War.
Damn. No, yeah, that probably was the worst generation to live in.
And by the time they got to relax in life, they were already in their 50s.
Damn.
This added perspective isn't to say that Gen Z has it easy. They don't, and there's no arguing against that.
But we have it a lot easier than they did, for sure.
And my heart does go out to all of those who are suffering financially. But
I know I am suffering financially. This shit fucking sucks.
The world isn't in shambles yet, and there's
no, for sure.
Still opportunities. Hopefully, with better policies and innovation, our economies and employment situations can turn around. On the bright side, Gen Z does have something priceless on their side: time.
Oh yeah.
Wise investments with the little money that they do have could be life-changing in the long run. Their willingness to work side hustles and their access to the best technological tools the world has ever seen could see them becoming the most entrepreneurial generation yet. Society
for sure.
As a whole should support them however they can to help them reach their full potential. After all, they are the future. But that's just my opinion. Given all
you guys are the future, by the way, each one of you guys.
Of the information that
doesn't matter which generation you guys are in.
Presented in this video, what do you guys think? And with that, we've covered as many aspects on the lives of Generation Z as we possibly could. I hope you did enjoy that coverage and learned something from it. Feel free to share this episode with anyone who'd be interested. If you want to see more on society and why exactly everyone is so lonely these days, check out my episode on the loneliness epidemic. Or, if you want to know why the economy is the way it is today, you can check out the episode on the 2008 crisis and why it still affects all of us. Anyway, that's about it from me. My name is Dagogo, and you've been watching Cold Fusion, and I'll catch you again soon for the next episode. Cheers.
Shout out to Cold Fusion. Go ahead, like, comment, subscribe. We're on a grind to 100K. Grind never stop. Whoop!
Bye, have a great time.